As Professor Weedman stated, we do fight for advocacy of indigenous peoples all over the world. We do try to create a space for them to come here in the university setting and express themselves. So this is what we do. We also have an indigenous celebration every year. We have lecture series that we co-host with the forum. And another thing I wanted to say is, as a student, if there are any students here or any potential students at FIU or anywhere in the country, I would like to say, whether you're indigenous or not, this is a fight that we're all involved in. This is for everybody. This is it's a way of truth, of honesty, of caring, friendship, and just living a good way of life. And as my late mentor taught me one day, he said, good medicine. It's the way you interact with people. It's the way you treat people, and even how you eat and how you express yourself. And what you feel, not only in your mind, but in your heart as well. That's more important, what's in your heart. And the experiences that I've had with indigenous people in the Southeast and all along the East Coast have taught me a lot and have really shown me a way that, it's a good way. So thank you, Lummi Nation, Washington State, for coming here. And thank you for all the other speakers for coming here as well. Thank you.
Hello everybody, my name is Adam Beach. I'm hosting this today. I'd like to welcome the Blackhawk singers to come out here and honor and bless us in a good way.
Dear friends, relatives, elders, and respected women. I don't know the Lummi language, but I'm still learning. I just want to say a few words this evening on behalf of the Lummi Nation, thanking each and every one of you for being here. Their hands go up to you. Hi, Christina. Very happy to see you, my friends and relatives. Thanking the ones that helped put this together. Thanking each and every one of you for being here. Hi, Christina.
Thank you, everybody. By you being here allows all of us to feel that we are representing something that is bigger than us. And unknowing to us, the Lummi Nation, they have a recorded history in the last 1,000 years of their land and their place of being on Turtle Island. And by you being here really honors and respects that teaching that they've carried on and brought us here today. We're walking and with my family, my daughter, my wife Summer. When we walked up here, a guy, a student, I don't know who he was, but he was looking at the carving outside. And he was very much like, what is that? And we said, well, that's a totem pole for an event we have over here. He goes, oh, wow. And you could tell there's an admiration for the totem pole outside. And these are those little things that we hope to share with the world, not only with the Sea Aquarium and with you here, but there is a harmonious way of being that the Lummi Nation carry themselves. And we hope you feel that today, and we hope we continue this journey, not only here or back home from where they're from, but within the journey of our lives that I carry with my family in the best way I can. All right. Now, I'd love to acknowledge the people that have made this a possibility. The Lummi Nation Council members, Nicholas Lewis, Freddie Lane, Lawrence Solomon, the House of Tears carvers, the Orca Network co-founders, Susan Berta and Howard Garrett, the Sierra Club, and the Native Law professor, Natalie Barefoot. I don't know if she's here, I haven't met her. And I hope you guys enjoyed today. I'd love to bring up Jeff here to introduce you more to what we're doing, and he could introduce himself in the way he can. Where is Jeff? Hey. Hey, come on up there, buddy. He lives in my world, of the filmmaking world, where we try to bring to you the images and the catalog of historic moments, and these are one of those moments, and we're hoping that the end of the film is the return of Tokitae.
It's such a pleasure to be here, and it's kind of it's sort of a long journey that brings me here, and not as long as the journey of the people that actually drove the totem pole, which I think was 7,000 miles. That was a very long sit. And thank you, Adam, for being with us, and thank your family, Summer and your daughter. What we're going to see in a moment is a trailer that started in January. We started making it in January. My wife, Denny Gordon, is my partner in this, and we were introduced to this issue and this project of bringing Tokitae home by a friend of ours who works on one of the Washington State environmental boards, governor's boards. And she told us, she said, well, I know you're filmmakers, and I know you are avid environmentalists and very concerned with all those issues, the ecological issues of the Puget Sound. The Lummi tribe, the Lummi Nation, is doing something you might be interested in. And so we started talking, and here we are. It's amazing the momentum this project has gained in that short amount of time. We're very excited about it. And what we're going to see is a trailer that is designed to provoke and enhance public awareness of the plight of Tokitae and hopefully lead to the coming of Tokitae home. And hopefully it will be a prologue of a full-length or feature-length film where we see Tokitae actually come home to Puget Sound. And we see her go in the water for the first time in 50 years. And we see her maybe reunite with her family. We would hope that would be our fervent desire. So this is designed to promote that cause and to get people like you, well, I shouldn't say get people like you interested because you're already interested, you're here. I'm preaching to the choir, but maybe you'll become proponents and go out and convince your friends as a result of this. That's all we hope for. So thank you very much for coming tonight. Thank you for having me, and I feel honored and humbled to be part of this.
She belongs here. She belongs to the Salish Sea, not to Miami, not to the owners of that seaquarium. She was stolen from the Salish Sea. She was stolen from her mother. She was stolen from her place of belonging. She was stolen from the place where the Creator placed her.
This is the Salish Sea in the Pacific Northwest, a region of North America renowned for its unspoiled beauty, pristine waters, and spectacular inhabitants. But here, in 1970, an event occurred that is unthinkable by today's standards. Over 40 orca children were captured during a period of several weeks, sold off like slaves, then transported to marine parks all over the world. This is Tokitae, the sole survivor of those captured whales. She has been living in this concrete tank for 47 years.
The most notorious of the roundups of captures of orcas for marine parks that began in 1965, ended in 1976. So the peak of it was 1970 and 71. And every single person and the residents along the sides of Penn Cove will tell us to this day that what they remember most are the piercing, agonized calls from all the family.
They devastated the pods. They took whale after whale after whale, and lots of them died. This is a sickening business, and it's got to be stopped. And now to confine that animal to a 50 or 60 foot pen is inhumane. I don't know if inhumane is the right word, but it's grossly wrong.
The other problems, of course, are the very substandard conditions in Miami. They don't even meet the very basic requirements for the size and the conditions of the pool that Tokitae is kept in. She's out in the sun in Florida a lot. This is totally unnatural. One of the orca activists went to the seaquarium in Miami with a little recording of her pod and of them talking to one another. He got down close enough to the water's edge, he played it, and she recognized it, and she visibly reacted. She listened, and then she started shaking and calling. So she definitely recognized the cries of her mother and her aunt and her relatives there, and it was apparently a very emotional experience for him to realize that this orca misses her family. She knows them and she wants to be back with them.
She calls out in the night, And the recordings that we have of those calls have been analyzed, and they are LPOD calls of the Southern residents. That's how we know that she is a member of LPOD. And she still is calling out. That tells us that she has vivid memories, and that she may not know she's 3,000 miles away. The last she saw, she was at the Seattle waterfront, and then, put into a box. And she may not know, the distance, and she may think maybe her family is out there. She's near the ocean, so she may hear the waves and think, well, her family may come by someday, sometime, and if she calls, maybe they'll come.
The Lummi Nation has shared the Salish Sea with orca whales for more than 10,000 years. The Lummis consider orcas members of their tribe and are committed to bringing Tokitae home to swim with her original pod and her mother.
The aim is to bring her home in order to achieve that larger aim of the Salish Sea, because it is the highway of a lifeway for Native peoples, and not just Native peoples, all the people of the Salish Sea biome.
Creator willing, together we can make this happen for her and for her pod and her mother, and for our people, the people in the Salish Sea.
This is Glenwood Springs Salmon Hatchery on Orcas Island in the Salish Sea. A 100-acre cove is being prepared for the day when Tokitae returns to her home waters. She will be gradually reintroduced into her native environment, receiving veterinary care from handlers she knows and trusts. The hatchery will provide her plenty of Chinook salmon as she learns to catch her own, and the site is strategically located. Her native L-pod swims past the cove, often in their normal jaunts around the islands. Will she hear her mother's calls? Only time will tell.
The big challenge to all of us, not just the Lummis, is whether or not the Salish Sea is going to be a dead ocean or remain one of the most biodiverse estuaries in North America. We're at decision time. We've been called to bring her home. Will you work with us? We have a plan. We have a place. We have a strategy. We're raising money. Tribes don't go away. It's not like an organization. It's a government. And we're going to do 16 events down the West Coast and across the Gulf Coast, honoring Tokitae's return and restoring and protecting the Salish Sea and the Gulf Coast. We're going to tie these together. We're bringing it all home to Miami. Join us at that event. All those people I just mentioned will be invited to participate, and the public. And the totem pole will be there with presenters, and it's either going to be a big party or it's going to be a big protest.
So this totem pole journey is about freedom for Tokitae, bringing her home.
Efforts to discuss the release of Tokitae with Seaquarium have so far resulted in no meaningful dialogue. So for now, Tokitae continues to perform in 2 shows per day, entertaining tourists, doing tricks for food.
She's called out to us. We're calling out to you. And we're addressing that to Seaquarium as much as anything. Do the right thing.
And she talks to the spirits at night, and she cries for her mother. She does. And she wants to come home, But she's really tough to survive all that would happen to all of those other ones that were taken at the same time. All the other ones are all gone now. There's just her.
With her homecoming, it's going to be a beautiful gathering with
her family, her loved ones, her brothers and sisters, her cousins, probably her aunties and uncles and relatives. They'll know and she'll know what home is, because she still remembers. She still remembers.
I was raised with lots of old people. I knew lots of old people in my day. And they talked about Kulfalmachtan. After Lummi Chawson Kalan. Ganso Sal, Quanasanatachal, Tutsan, the top. Aachens at Zashquiam, at Kulfalmachtan, Jaskadam East, Zashquiam, at Lummi Thelma. An elder came to my house. He came right in, he sat down. I come to tell you a story of your people. And he said, you remember this now, the story of Kulfalmachtan, the blackfish or the killer whale. And it's a long story, but they come from the people that live under the water. And a young man went down and he saw the people that lived under the water. But everything in creation are all our brothers and sisters and our relatives. That's why we have to respect everything. That's why we give thanks to everything that we eat, everything that we do, because we all know that they come from people at one time, and they're our relatives. Kulfalmachtan was taken away off to Florida, and it's kind of like our people. When the government and the church came in, they took our children away to parochial and government schools. And they tried to take away our culture, our history, our language, our values, and our families. So she's in the same situation as our people. She has that, like he's saying, that historical trauma that we all live through and that we all carry every day. But we need to strive to maintain our identity as to who we are as a people and how we're related to Kulfalmachtan. I really feel bad for her. I watched the video as she cries. It really makes you feel bad to see her crying to come home. All we're trying to do is help her. It's not only Lummi Nation that's fighting to get her back. There's a lot of other people that are helping all along the way. Are willing to step forward and help give it to her. So, with these few words, I just wanted to share with you.
Is Freddie Lane here? Freddie Lane is the man who made this film with Chief Salik in it, and he's also a Lummi Nation Council member. And And I want to thank Miss Hummingbird, who is dressed like a rainbow here in the front row, for the cough drops she shared with me earlier today. Because if I make it through this speech without having a fit, it will be due to your cough drops, Miss Hummingbird. Thank you. My name is Julie Trimmingham. My family has been living on traditional Lummi territory for 5 generations now, and I am eternally grateful to Lummi for so graciously sharing their homeland with us, and for being such fierce protectors of the place they have inhabited for hundreds of generations. And I also want to acknowledge the Seminole land we're on right now, and to thank each and every one of you for being here tonight. It's good to be with you. I am here today because I feel like I was called to be here, to work for Tokitae, and for Lummi, and for the Salish Sea. When I first heard about Lummi's work to free Tokitae, my reaction was, I'm all in, I'm there. And I didn't even know what there meant. I think that when you're called to something, whether it's to a cause, or to God, or to love, to resist that call is to suffer, but to follow that call is joy. So that's why I'm here. And it was after I got here that I learned that Lummi had also been called. That call is the phrase, it's the word I've seen around notices on Lummi Nation and heard people use, that people have been called. And I think that everyone here today has been called. You could be spending your time this evening out salsa dancing, or drinking mojitos, or watching TV, or whatever people in Miami do. But you're here. We've all been called to help call Tokitae home. So I want to talk a little bit about this idea of calling. I don't know what blackfish call themselves, but I've been practicing the Lummi word for them, which I suspect is the most accurate human term for them. Quathalamachtem, the people beneath the waves, our relations who live underwater. They're people, we're people, and in many ways we're a lot alike. The resident Salish Sea Quathalamachtem have complex social relations that mirror our own. Kids will stay with their mamas their entire life. It's called a matriline, and a few matrilines will travel together in what's called a pod, and a few pods will come together in a clan, and a few clans will come together in a community. So it's a lot like us. Another way in which we're a lot alike is that they talk all the time, and they sing. It's how they communicate, they sing. Each pod has its very own song. Pods in a clan or in a community will understand one another's songs, but when they speak them, they'll speak them in dialect. So if you're from L pod and you're talking to J pod in J pod's language, you'll speak with an L pod dialect. Tokitae, who belongs to L pod, still sings her pod's song. She still sings that song. And once an activist in the Salish Sea recorded L pod singing that song, and then he flew to Miami, and he held that recording out over Tokitae's little tiny swimming pool at Miami Seaquarium, and he pushed play. And as soon as Tokitae heard that song, she swam up to the edge of the swimming pool, and she popped her head above the water, and she started trembling. She started quivering with emotion because she recognized her family's song. That's a song that she learned from her mother, because that's how songs are passed down in Quathalamachtem. The mother teaches the child the family song. And so this is a song that she learned when she was a little baby before she was captured at the age of 4. And she remembers that song, and she sings that song. And I think it's probably likely that one reason Tokitae has survived all of these years, one reason she's been so resilient when all the other blackfish who were captured have died, is because she knows that song. She knows who she is, she knows where she comes from, and she knows where she belongs. Tokitae's mother is still alive. Her family still swims in the Salish Sea. I think they're calling out to her, and she to them. Now this literal, audible calling out echoes a more profound sense of calling. I believe that mothers can call their children home, that families can call their kin home. I believe this because I've experienced it. I was born in Montreal and grew up in Brazil, in North Africa, and in the deserts of Arizona. But then I moved to a small city just outside of Lummi Nation because my parents had grown up in the area. and they both wanted to be home. I went to middle school and high school there, and I was a miserable teenager, so as soon as I turned 18, I moved as far away from home as I possibly could, and I stayed away. And every single year that I was away, my mother sent me jam that she made from wild blackberries that she picked on the back roads by our house. And I always ate all of the jam. And against all odds, many years later, against all the plans that I had made, I ended up moving back home. And then a few years ago, right after my own son was born, my mother confessed to me that she had been sending me jam all those years, not out of the goodness of her heart, but because she believed that if she made jam from local berries and with love, and if I ate that jam, the jam would call me home. The place would call me home, the love would call me home. And it worked, because I ended up living, and I still live, around the corner from my parents. So of course now I constantly feed my own son and my loved ones my mother's magic blackberry jam. So I believe that mothers can call their children home, families can call their kin home. Another reason I think I've been called here is because I've always had a thing for blackfish. When I was a little girl, most of the stuffed animals I slept with had been given to me, but I remember once I was allowed to choose my own, and I chose a killer whale. And that killer whale shared my bed until I left my childhood home. And even after I left my childhood home, blackfish still shared my bed because I would dream about them all the time. I would dream that I was swimming with them and being with them, and these were always super great, joyful dreams. And in one, not that long ago, I was even married to a blackfish. And he was a good listener, he was kind, he was considerate, he was strong, he was really everything that you would want in a husband. And I'm a good wife, so of course I'm going to try to bring my sister-in-law home to where she belongs in Salish Sea. But really, my dream life with killer whales is part of the reason I'm here. It's part of the calling. Because callings go beyond the waking world. They go deeper than the rational world. They speak to the connections among people and all living things. Callings vibrate like prayers through the air or songs through the water. Callings resonate along the strands of the sacred web of life. And the sacred web of life is really what I want to talk about. I think it's why we've all been called here. We're all part of that web. We can't help it. We are part of the web. We're all nodes or points of connection along that web. And we're all connected by the strands, the threads of that web. And those strands, those threads, might be called love or honor or mutual respect. The strands of the web connect us to one another and to all living things. And that sacred web of life is in danger. It's being torn by us. All around the world, the sacred web of life is being unseen, it's being ignored, and it's being torn. It's being torn by rising authoritarianism, by brutality, by injustice. We're destroying one another, we're destroying all kinds of life, we're destroying the planet that is our home. And I believe that this destruction is possible because we've lost sight of the web of life. We've lost sight of how we humans fit into the world. We've lost sight of the sacredness. As the poet Wendell Berry has famously said, there are no unsacred places. There are only sacred places and desecrated places. So what does one blackfish have to do with all of this? The sacred web of life is unseen strand by strand. It is torn strand by strand. It is desecrated strand by strand. And so it must be repaired strand by strand. Tokitae's abduction and captivity is a strand that we can repair right here and right now. This is the wound that has been given us to heal. This is the wound we can heal right now. I have to believe that freeing Tokitae and returning her to her mother, to her family, to her home, will heal her heart. I have to believe that Tokitae's return will heal her mother's heart, that it will heal her family, that it will help heal the relations between Quethal-Michtan and humans, because the blackfish have never forgotten. The blackfish who swim in Elpod have never gone back to Pen Cove, the place where Tokitae and her brothers and sisters were taken. The blackfish hold us accountable. They remember. But when we return Tokitae to her family, her return will help heal our relations. Strand by strand, we must repair the web of life. Blackfish are apex predators, which means that nobody else eats them. Their health, blackfish health, indicates the health of the entire Salish Sea. Right now, the blackfish are starving. They are poisoned from pollutants in the water. They talk to each other all the time, but they can hardly hear each other because of all the noise created by the oil tanker traffic. We will bring Tokitae home to a sea pen in a protected cove next to a salmon hatchery. She will be safe. She will have ample food. And she will be a symbol of what is needed for all. In order for Tokitae's people, the Quathalmichten, to thrive, in order for Lummi to thrive, in order for all of us who call that place home to thrive, the Salish Sea must thrive. We need to restore the salmon runs, the herrings, the rivers. Everything is connected. Strand by strand, we repair the web. When we repair one strand, the whole web gets stronger, because healing is magic. One healed heart can encourage another heart to heal. Illumination is magic. By shining a light on one part of the web of life, by re-sanctifying one place, we send that healing and that light and that sacredness back out into the world. One of my favorite moments to come out of the most recent presidential election, possibly my only favorite moment, was a young woman wearing a red baseball cap that said, "Make America Coast Salish again." Now, I don't entirely support that because I think only the Coast Salish parts of America should be made Coast Salish again. But I do think that America should be made indigenous again. I think that those of us who are not Native American, but who call this place home, can and should learn from the peoples whose languages, cultures, and values spring from this place. We should learn from and follow the lead of people who have never forgotten the sacred web of life, whose traditional life ways illuminate and strengthen the interconnectedness of all things. Lummi Nation has said Tokitae is coming home. Now it's on all of us to help make that happen. We've all been called here tonight. We need to call Tokitae home for her own sake, and we need to call Tokitae home for our own sake. People along every step of this journey have been calling out to her in their own ways. Tomorrow, on the sidewalk in front of Seaquarium, we'll be calling out to her again. We'll be calling out close enough so that she can hear us. The Black Hawk singers will be calling out to her in ways that Tokitae knows in her blood, through drum and through song. Strand by strand and song by song, we repair the sacred web of life. Thank you.
Usambaye hatimai yambaibo Uitaita mikaya Utoperi utimei yatiama Asimiatu nai Congelado al borde de un precipicio me quedo, caravana de desesperados detrás de mí, materializado al medio de una batalla, arrancó con los guerreros blancos subiendo la montaña. Usambaye, Atimai, Ambaibo, Uitaita, Mikayan, Utoperi, Utimei, Atiama, Asimiatunai. Me voy a ir volando en las alas de una gaviota blanca. Me voy a ir tan lejos que no voy a poder volver. Quizá ni necesite alas o a una gaviota blanca. Acosado, abro los ojos y me dejo caer. Llámame, llámame, no me digas que ya te olvidaste de mí. Llámame, llámame, no me digas que ya te olvidaste. Llámame, llámame, no me digas que ya te olvidaste de mí. Llámame, llámame, no me digas que ya te olvidaste. Espíritu del mundo, somos solo un pueblo, pueblo del mundo, somos solo un espíritu, spirit of the world. We are only one people, people of the world. We are only one spirit, spirit of the world. We are only one people, people of the world. We are only one spirit. Tokitae, Tokitae. We are coming for you. The Lummi are working to make that happen for you. Tokitae, Tokitae. We'll bring you back to your sea. Tokitae, Tokitae. Good dreams come true, yes. Beautiful, beautiful, baby, sí. Espíritu del mundo, somos solo un pueblo. Usambaye, Atimai, Yambaibu. Uitaitani Kayana Utopei Utimei Apiama Asimiyatu Nai. Thank you so much. You might wonder what is a Chilean guy doing here. We have been defending rivers and watersheds and waters in Chile for decades, 30 years, around 30 years. It's very strange that some humans have to defend rivers, watersheds, and waters, and orcas, that other people are attacking, It's quite weird, really. And actually, I met Dr. Russo, one of the organizers of this delegation, this trip to save Tokitae, many years ago, defending the Bio River in Chile, in the center of Chile. We weren't so successful. They wanted to build 7 huge dams in that river. But we stopped 4, but they built 3 that really gave like a death blow to this fantastic river inhabited by indigenous communities. And I have to say this because we have to look at reality, frontally. Today in the Upper Biobío, there is the highest suicide rate in the country. I'm sorry to say this, but it's true. It's some of the poorest counties in Chile. So the dams brought a disaster to the watershed, to the river, to the people. What some people call development. It's all for money, and it's savage capitalism. But the good news, yes, we stopped 4 dams, and in fact, we changed the history of hydroelectric development in Chile. No large hydroelectric dam was ever built again in Chile after that campaign, And actually, they tried, and in Patagonia, they wanted to build a huge hydroelectric complex, 5 dams in Chilean Patagonia, one of the most beautiful, well, there's many beautiful bioregions in the world, and this is really beautiful, not because it's in Chile. And you know something? We learned many lessons with the Bio campaign. We need to cooperate, we need to work together, we need to study, to do our homework, to have good arguments, but basically to network and cooperate. And I'm going to tell you really good news, We totally stopped that project. We destroyed it. No dams in Patagonia. In fact, the name of the campaign was Patagonia Without Dams. And I say this, it's not a personal achievement. It's not an achievement of one organization. We were 80 organizations for that campaign. 80. From Chile, from Argentina, from the US, in fact, NRDC, International Rivers, who were very important allies. And then we had allies in Europe, because finally the company that was controlling the project was an Italian company. And the Italian organizations reacted, and we were there many times. We boycotted the annual general meetings of this company, Enel, 3 times, Really powerful campaign, thanks to cooperation and love. We are peaceful, we are totally pacifists. We don't believe in violence, at all. So we have mixed, good news and bad news, but some very good news. We have learned so many things. I wanted to tell you, it's such an honor and a privilege to be with my brothers here, with the master carvers. I spent a few days now. I had met them before. In fact, Jewel was in the Biobío with us. He came. And this is so great when Italian organizations defend a territory that is thousands of kilometers away. When Lummi comes and Kurt Russo comes to Chile to help us defend the Chilean river, because the world doesn't have any boundaries, It's all, we are all one, and biosphere is only one. But it's beautiful, fantastic that this is happening. And as I said, I feel honored and privileged to share with Jules, with Doug, with Jeff, with the whole delegation, And I went the other day to see Tokitae. Everything has been said. It's totally heartbreaking. She's in a prison, she's being tortured. That water is inert, there's no life there. But I'm totally sure that we're going to be able all together to free her from that prison. That's a certainty. We just have to keep at it, persistent, And the Lummi, they have such an amazing strength, The last bit of whatever lesson that I would like to share with you. I'm an ecologist. I studied ecology in Canada. I have a master in environmental studies, whatever. But I do, And throughout this work, and when you connect really with your three centers, you know, I was commenting yesterday, I heard interviews of Jewel and Doug, you know, they go for the three centers. This is esoteric. You know, they go to the viscera, they go to the heart, and they go to the mind. It's like Gestalt. When that happens, things move. Things really move. And throughout all this, I have discovered, you know, studying, that we are the biosphere. This is poetic, this is beautiful, but it's true scientifically. We are, the biosphere is our extended body. So this concept of being relatives, you know, is totally, absolutely true, you know. Tokitae is our relative. I think she's hearing this, you know, she's hearing the songs, the drums, she's feeling our minds. We will be there if it rains or pours or whatever. We will be there tomorrow at the Seaquarium. So let's keep it together and let's work so we make this happen and free Tokitae and make a powerful statement for all animals in captivity and all human beings in captivity in different ways. Mentally captive, you know, captured, physically, you know, tortured. You know, this brings an echo for me even of the military coup in Chile. So many people were deprived of freedom, of happiness, of family, you know, so let's keep doing it together.
Man, what a cool guy, huh? We were talking out there and he went on his whole speech and I was like, wow, I'm more beautiful than I thought. That whole centering biosphere of what starts with us and you pass it around, that's deep thinking, man. What he forgot to mention, in '97 he won a Right Livelihood Award, '98 an Alternative Nobel Prize. Like, those are big feats. And how we came here as a family to represent Tokitae, this is a start that, you know, hopefully we will be able to live our life the way he does. And it's kind of passing the torch and the knowledge, so hopefully, you know, we don't have to win Nobel Peace Prize, but we can actually look at our community as our own biosphere and what can we do. And I always suggest there's social media, you know, go to the totem pole journey and, you know, pass it on to your friends. It's that little connection, connecting the dots. And, you know, you'll look and feel like you're doing something very, very, it's proud. It's a proud feeling. Oh, as my next guest is the most beautiful woman in the world, my wife, Summer Tiger. I'd love her to come up here.
Thank you for the introduction. I was sitting here listening to Julie. Thank you for everything you've done for us, and to the Lummi Nation for having us here. And when Julie was speaking, one thing that struck me was that notion of calling. And the last event we did in LA, I was sitting there and I spoke, and like, it was my first time speaking and I get nervous. So when I was listening to everyone else speak, I was having this memory of this dream that I had. And when we went to the first event in Miami, we got called to go to view the documentary, the trailer. And we came home and we were connected to it and everything, but you know, it's just, Adam gets invited to a lot of events. So it was another event that we were invited to, but when I came home, I fell asleep and I had this dream. And in the dream, I was walking around Tokitae's tank in this aquarium. And to the right was Tokitae, and to the left was this scientist. And this scientist was holding this frog creature, like a big frog creature. And the frog creature and Tokitae were communicating in some language, but I could sense that the frog creature was comforting Tokitae, telling her it's going to be okay. And in the dream, my throat got tight and I started just weeping. And I woke up and, you know, I have a connection to this land. I'm Seminole, my family's Miccosukee, and you know, I grew up here and I grew up going to this aquarium, and to know now that this injustice is happening in my homeland is just so painful. And when we were driving down here, we're on 95, and I'm on my phone and Adam's driving and Phoenix is in the back with her headphones on, and I hear this like a splat. And Adam's like, whoa! He looks up. A frog had jumped down on the windshield of our car. And so I'm sitting here today, I'm like, dude, I gotta tell the frog story. The frog spirit is like, tell my story to people. So I had to share that. So I also wanted to say, you know, I see my elders here, and as a mixed race Native woman, I feel the need to kind of qualify myself. My grandfather is Buffalo Tiger. He was the chief of the Miccosukee tribe. So, yeah, thank you. So I grew up on the trail, going out there on the weekends, and I can't say that he was the warmest grandfather, but sitting here today and all of the things that I've learned about my heritage and the trauma and the institutionalized generational trauma, it's helping me heal the pain. And I see, you know, maybe why he was the way he was towards us and towards the family. But I did grow up going out to his airboat rides and in the Everglades and hearing all about, you know, he was very proactive in trying to preserve the water of the Everglades and learning about Big Sugar and all those things. And I wish I could go back and ask him more questions, but I can't, you know. So I'm here trying to do my part and trying to speak. And there's people here that are way more experienced than I am, but I know that I believe I'm the only Native woman who's speaking here today. And one thing that I really wanted to bring up, there's so many parallels between Tokitae's captivity and Native people and our plight and our forced relocation, trying to find home and trying to hold on to the bits of family and tribal customs, clans. But one thing that I think hasn't really been brought up is talking about missing and murdered Native women. And to me, I see a parallel with Tokitae. She's a daughter, she's a female entity, she's a spiritual being that's being held captive. She's been given the name Lolita. You know, like, come on. So the missing and murdered Native women issue hits close to home for me because I'm lucky that I wasn't one of them. And I have, you know, every day on my Instagram, Twitter, I follow all the Native women writers, and every day there's more missing Native women. We face disproportionate rates of violence and rape and sexual trauma, any kind of trauma. And with Tokitae's captivity, I feel like as women, as Native women, it's important for her to be freed. She represents so much more than just a whale, you know, being held in captivity at this aquarium. She represents a journey of healing for all of us. And I guess that's why I'm here speaking, and thank you for listening. I didn't even use my notes on my phone, guys.
Great job. Who is that woman? My gosh. My next wonderful guest is Sam. You can come up, introduce yourself, and he'll let you know.
This is my protest silence. There's definitely a lot of pain happening, and that's what I would like to touch up on. I am a member of the Seminole tribe of Florida. I come from the families that practice traditions. So I'm a traditionist practitioner of our tribe. I was born out in the middle of the Everglades on a small island. My grandparents lived in the southern part of the Everglades, Shark Valley. Those are my grandparents, back in 1800s. And I was born like in the middle of the Everglades. Now I live northern part of the Everglades, a place called Big Cypress Seminole Indian Reservation. Over there, the land has been dried out. It has been rezoned so many times to a point now they've rezoned the northern part of the traditional Everglades to where they can build a power plant. It's actually a big secret, and the public do not know about this. You might eventually learn about it, I'm not sure. But that's my personal pain. I don't know if you would understand that. I don't know if people would understand that at all. But the Everglades is the most precious, the most unique place that was ever created. It is so entirely unique. I don't know, you'd have to educate yourself to learn about that. But for me, it's very personal. It's where my family had to come because we were being killed. We are from this eastern part of the United States. This is our home. But we were told not to live in this area. Therefore, my family was killed. And part of my family was forced to go to Oklahoma. But the Everglades itself is a refuge. It was a physical refuge for my family. It's not only a physical refuge, it's a spiritual refuge. You see, we've been living on this land for thousands of years. We have a relationship with the Creator for thousands of years. We have dialogue with the Creator for thousands of years. Therefore, the Everglades was a sacred place for us to come. Not only because we were hiding from the U.S. military, but we have talked to the Creator, and we knew this is where we had to come to. And now it's in such a huge jeopardy. And so therefore, it's very personal for me. And I'm sharing that with you. I didn't know I was going to be talking about this, but I am. I had a whole different speech written out. And that's what we have to do. We have to learn to talk from our hearts. And we have to, if the politicians can't learn how to do that, talk from their souls and have a heart, we're going to have to replace them with people that have souls and a heart. And there is no time to explain anything anymore. Now is the time. Now is time to heal. I want to share a flute song that came to me on the side of a mountain up in New Mexico at a time when my family was going through a grieving period. I went on the side of a mountain. I'm from the Everglades, but I was out in New Mexico. It's part of my family's life. And I was actually on the side of a mountain, and I actually played a flute, which I had bought. And a song came, and I kept it. But during a time of grieving, when I was playing a song, I was looking out in the valleys. I was looking at the mountains out there, purple mountains. Very beautiful place. I could see mountains at far distances. Very beautiful. As the song came to me, it came through the flute, I eventually started feeling a sweet presence. a spiritual presence, a very powerful but very, very spiritual presence, which came from up there and came down to where I was. And everywhere I looked, there was sweetness everywhere. My departed, beloved family member, my departed loved one let me know he was with a sweet presence. There was nothing but sweetness in another world, but also in this world that I am, that I was. I was made aware that everything is very sweet. There is a presence. There is a spirit. And it's around us. It's with us. Oftentimes I feel so inadequate. Oftentimes I worry people would see my inadequacy. Oftentimes I can't see the future. I can't think beyond tomorrow. Oftentimes I do that. I bet you do the same. I bet it happens to you. When we think about the whale that's in the tank, I wonder how long she's felt that way. I wonder how long it's been. It probably hasn't been as long as the way I felt that way. but I wonder how long. And I also wonder, we're all in captivities. This great big land of freedom, liberty. In reality, we're all in captivities. Just like any other civilizations and countries around the world, around the globe, we're all in captivities. So how many of us are brave enough to really admit that we don't really have freedom? If we had freedom, things would be so different, because our spiritual rights, our human rights would be flourishing upon this planet. I also worry, what is going to happen in the future? What's going to happen to the future generations? If we're captive now, their future is in captivity as well. Feel your heart, speak from your heart. Thank you very much.
I want to play him in a movie. Man, Sam, that was powerful stuff. Holy. Man, I'm doing a movie in Phoenix. I think it's next week and a half from now. No, I think next week. June 6th. I don't know how far that we are from there. But it's going to be in the Phoenix. It's going to be mountains there. I'm going to get a darn flute and I'm going to be sitting in the mountains trying to catch something. I like it. Wow, that was a good distraction. Next up, Doug Jewell, Master Carver. He has good words that really say a lot. Glad to know him as a friend and proud to be here.
I'm glad my brother Doug's up here with me. Shit. You know,
barely even talk.
We love you, Jill.
I played that for my lost children. My daughter got killed when she was 19 in college, hit by a car. My son was 7 years younger than her. He got killed when he was 19, hit by a car. They were both in college, and they were just handsome and beautiful and loving. And he really liked life. I used to play that one. I have a prayer flute. This is a love flute. I put it away because I taught my daughter the power of dreams through telling her how the flute would get broke. And she got to witness it. And she cried, and she said she was sorry because she didn't think I could really see things in dreams. She had her doubts. But I carved for them. And we've been doing these campaigns for quite a few years. And a lot of times I'm carving alone, thinking of them. And tell the truth, I'm a pissed off parent because they're taken. And so I don't normally feel this deep, but I'm over relating to what's going on. I know it's like the blues and Indian countries like that. And we, we did journeys for 9/11 and to help people to overcome grief because they lost their parents in the Twin Towers. Then we did a poll for Flight 93 because they lost their family or their children that were on the plane. Then we did totem poles for the Pentagon for the people that lost their lives there on Flight 77 to hit. And we've given them to explosion sites where children were killed, innocent children. That pole just got vandalized. We had kids that don't understand. It stood for the children that died in the stream that were fishing when that gasoline pipeline exploded. You know, and we put them up at Soldiers' Home for the soldiers that died for us. We put them up in boarding schools. And this summer we're going to put one up, three-piece up, towards the end of the summer at a boarding school where the children that never came home were buried. Indian boarding school there for 150 years. The cemetery has not been marked. Their graves had never been marked. Thrown in a hole like an animal and covered up. You know, and Indian country has a lot of grief. We really grieve, not just for ourselves, but for the way our territory has been destroyed. You know, we got red paint on, and our chief tells us to wear it with pride. We're painted people. We're part of a spirit society, and I'm also a member of the Peyote church. And when we went to Chile, we brought Johnny Whitecloud with us to pray for justice. And he did a peyote meeting there. Chinoe Gawa, a great peyote singer in the Northwest. And she was with us. And we all prayed with our brother there for justice for the people of Chile. And the elders that were thrown and killed. They're killing the old women that had their property out in the Bio. And Pinochet left the country and went to Spain and got arrested and held there until he died. You know, I always say thank you, Johnny. Good for powerful prayers. Thank you, Juan Pablo, for the work you've done for those elders that were murdered for owning property in the Bio. You know, it was a lot of tears shed. You know, and I appreciate our brother Kurt because we do these type of things. You know, we've done work in Australia and Chile and Guatemala and Mexico and Brazil and South Africa, Canada, you know, and working for environmental rights and indigenous rights. You know, we worked on the United Nations Declaration of Rights of Indigenous Peoples. We're not just carvers. We're politically motivated, politically involved. And, you know, I'm known to fight the IRS. I'm the guy that tells the IRS to get the hell out of Indian country, and they won't debate me publicly because they consider me a constitutional expert. And there's no way they can defeat me in a public debate. And so I'm always trying to get them out of Indian country. These are the things that we do, you know, and we really believe in what we're doing. And when we're asked to carve this whale by the Lummi tribe, we have 3 council members here, Happy Lawrence, Nick Lewis, and Freddie Lane. Freddie Lane's been traveling with us for 16 years, you know, and my brother and I, we always pushed him out forward. Now he talks so much, it's hard to get him off the podium, you know, but he's really good. You know, he has a real good heart, you know, and he's a painted man. That means he's spiritual, you know, and in our country we know, you know, this paint's 10,000 years old amongst our people over. We've been in Pacific Northwest. We hunted woolly mammoth and giant bison, you know, and we were there when the salmon came to the river. You know, and our stories, our legends, our myths are depicted through the song, dance, and ceremonies and symbology that we use. And for other people, they see a whale, we see a brother or a sister. You know, and we see at the end it says, send our whale home, but we're saying send our sister home. You know, that's our relative. And so on the whale's carved, it's actually 16 feet 9 inches long, but if you straighten the tail out, it'd be 22 feet long. You know, and thinking of Tokitae that way, and it's probably that one only weighs about 4,000 pounds, so we're not going to lift it off, but you know, it has on it the salmon on one side for the south resident pods, or population that eats salmon. Then on the other side is more salmon carved for the north resident pods up in Canada. But you know, the north and the south resident pods, they don't really know. One's Canadian and one's US. You know, but they do have their territory. And then there's a transient population that comes in from the ocean, and they eat seals. So in order to represent all 3 populations, we carved 2 seals. They're about 2 feet by 8 feet long, and the main whale form sits on top of the 2 seals. You know, on our Tlingit and Haida relatives up north, we used to be at war with them at one time, but now we live in peace, and they have legends or myths that say the seals were the subservient or the slaves of the killer whales. You know, and on it you have a person looking up and siaming all those that live above the water. On the other side, that same person is looking downward and got their hand up, siaming all the relatives that live in the water. So all those above water and all those below water. We say all our relatives, all our relatives. And in our idea of our cosmology, everything has a song, everything has a spirit, everything that's not human was created first. We're the pitiful ones. And they took a final form to give us something, food, something. You know, so bird, bee, you know, you wake up in the morning and you seem to forget something's dying for you today. You know, and you're supposed to put your feet on the ground and have a prayer for that brother or sister dying for you. And remember that just before you go to sleep and lift your feet back off the earth. Remember something died for you today. They're sacrificing themselves all the time. And so, yeah, it's a carving, you know, but it's deeper than that. It's a symbol of how we understand the world around us. There's a human being riding, and it's going to, that person, whether it's a male or female, depending on which tribe you're from, goes down deep into the water to the longhouse of the killer whale chief. And he will marry the daughter of the killer whale chief, or she will marry the son of the killer whale chief. And out of that marriage becomes the clan, the killer whale clan. And it's kind of emotional for me because my early children were Shimshiat, and they came from the killer whale clan. So it was an honor for me to carve this. And it's hard for me not to think about them. But on dorsal fin is that person. And when they dive down, you're going deep into your mind. See, the surface of the water is your superconscious. Under the water where you can see is your conscious. And then deeper down where it gets murky is your subconscious. Then way down where it's so dark you can't see is your unconscious. Alpha, beta, delta, theta. And when you come back up, you're an enlightened human being because you went deep down into your conscious and subconscious and unconsciousness. And you came out with an awareness. That's what that rider symbolizes. And you can go to Carl Jung or Joseph Campbell and do some studies there to understand the deeper psychological aspects of mythology. Pope Francis said it well in February of 2015 in Laudato Si, the encyclical. It's worth reading if you haven't read it. But to summarize 160 pages, he says, we told you we have dominion over the earth, but we forgot to tell you that God created all things. All things are sacred. Keep God's creation sacred. But now it may be too late. So it's a deep challenge for us to reach out beyond ourselves to try to get enough of a social collective awareness to realize that our duty is to take action. You know, little Jewel sitting in the front here with her mother, she's got a petition. She wrote a letter. Her mother is an activist that's been fighting for this whale's freedom since she was her daughter's age. Because of her, Senator Warren G. Magnuson, the mother, enacted laws that protect the whales. And now they're a team. And I don't know if they're going to be, I'd like to have them come up and tell their story. If you guys have enough time, I'd ask the mother to come up here and tell the story with her daughter, because that little girl's got a letter that she'd like me to sign. So, if you will, please. I'm not going to tell their story because they're eyewitnesses. The mother's an eyewitness, and the daughter is an eyewitness to the campaign. We hope coming to a conclusion that her mother helped start Aishka.
Sorry, I feel a little emotional because I didn't know that about your children. So thanks for inviting us to share this story. Well, we weren't prepared, but it's an easy story to tell because it's engraved in my heart so deeply. I grew up on Whidbey Island. My name is Robin. I live in California now, but I grew up on Whidbey Island. And Penn Cove was our cove, and that's where Lolita, Tokitae, was stolen from. But I grew up on Whidbey, and I had an amazing mother that used to drive us, my brother and I, over to Penn Cove in the mornings before school. And she did that so we could watch the orca whales. And we would just stand there on the dock in Penn Cove. Jeff's trailer for his film, when there's footage in that trailer of, there's black and white footage of the orcas being captured, that's Penn Cove, that's our cove. And I didn't know at the time, I didn't know till even last year, that those orcas were not just choosing freely to enter our cove. I didn't know they had been scared in there by the hunters. But for me, as a 10-year-old, it was just a wonderful thing to get to do in the mornings. And my mom would then Zoom us over to Oak Harbor Elementary School to get us to school in time. But then one morning came where my mom took us to the dock in Penn Cove, and the boats were gone, the hunters' boats. No orcas were swimming. They weren't in the cove. And you know how when you're a child and you're around animals, you always have a favorite, and you choose your favorite that you kind of gravitate towards, and you name them, and that was me. I had a favorite mother and baby orca that I used to come and see in the mornings. And so on this particular morning, there were orcas dead on our beach. So that morning there were orcas dead on the beach there in Pen Cove. And the mommy and baby orca that I used to come to see in the mornings was among them. And that's just something you never forget. So they were there dead on the beach, and I just stood on the dock crying. And my mother said, if you feel as strongly about this, you need to do something. And I, thought, well, I'm 10 years old, I don't even know where to start. And she said, I'm gonna give you the addresses if you wanna write letters. And I did want to write them. And we went home that morning instead of straight to school. And I just started writing letters to the government officials. My mom gave me the addresses. And I went to school late that day and told my teacher what we had seen in the cove that morning. And I had an incredible teacher, Mrs. Simon, my 4th grade teacher. She said, okay. She let me speak in front of the class. She let me tell the whole 4th grade class. And she allowed me to put the addresses up on the chalkboard. And she said, we're not gonna do schoolwork for the rest of the day. We're not doing geography, we're not doing math. We're gonna write letters. And so after speaking to the class, she let us all take the rest of the day to write letters. And that day and the next day, we made these beautifully colored posters that we could put all over the island to make people aware of those orcas that were dead in the cove and what had happened when the hunters came. And then my 4th grade teacher let me go and speak to another 4th grade class and another 4th grade class. And pretty soon, all the 4th grade classes were writing letters and doing posters, and then the 6th grade classes, and it just turned into something that our whole school was doing. And it was amazing because everywhere we'd go in Oak Harbor, you'd go into a restaurant or a store or a boutique, and there would be a poster, and I would see someone's name on it from my school. And I remember this one day going into this boutique and seeing a poster in the door, a beautiful colored poster to save the orcas. And the name on the poster was somebody I didn't know. And it was not from Oak Harbor Elementary, my school. It said Broadview Elementary and some boy's name. And it was so impactful as a child because I was like, oh my gosh, so I don't know this kid. So this is from another school. Some more kids are doing this. And it hit me like, oh, this is spreading. And it turned out, I learned that it had spread, and kids in our school had told kids on their scout troops, and kids on their baseball teams, and in their churches, and their various sports activities. And many schools on the island were now writing letters. Hundreds and hundreds of kids were doing posters and letters. And that week, I got a call, like Jewel was just sharing. I got a call one morning, and the man said, is this Robin Betancourt? That was my maiden name. Yes. And he said, this is Senator Warren Magnuson, and I'm sitting in my office holding your letter. And I see that you feel very, very strongly about these whales. And I said, yes. And I didn't speak myself very well. I think I was so stunned that he was calling me. I wish I had done a better job of it. But he said, I'm told that you're the child that spearheaded this campaign. And these guys know, actually, I was really scared because I didn't know what spearheaded meant, and I thought I was like going to jail. And I go, holy smokes, I don't know if I did that or not, and he was so kind, and he was like, no, that just means that you were leading this. And he said, I'm actually looking at hundreds of letters on my desk. And he explained that he had read them all, and he said, I just am calling you to see, what do you want to do about this? What do you think we should do? And it was so empowering, and it helps me. I remind my daughter and my 19-year-old that petitioned for Luna, and I'm hoping that people here that have children will remind your kids that they have a voice and people will listen. And for me, I think letter writing campaigns could totally blow this thing out of the roof if children all over this nation were writing letters to government officials and Miami Seaquarium. I think the children innately have a heart connection to injustice for animals, and they get it, and they know how to write letters from their heart. So after this phone call, we brainstormed on the phone and we talked about ideas, and he very kindly took suggestions from a little kid, and the next thing he did was he moved forward with things we talked about, and a law was passed. He spearheaded that, and the next time that SeaWorld, Miami Seaquarium, and Marine Land, and many others came to our cove, there was a quota. They used to be able to just keep going, and they would kill so many whales in an attempt to capture one shamu. It was heartbreaking. Babies would die in nets, and mothers would die bashing through things trying to get to babies, and it was horrible. But the next time they came, they had a 2-whale quota with the new law that Governor Magnuson, or Senator Magnuson worked on, and if they killed 2 whales, that was their 2. They couldn't just keep going and killing and killing and killing till they had a success. If they killed 1, got 1 alive, or if they had 2 whales alive, that was their 2. They had to stop. They couldn't just keep this crazy killing spree. And then the laws got even better after that, because the law that came next was none, period. You cannot take any, alive, dead, doesn't matter. You can't do this here. But it started with a group of children. And I just think that's so powerful, and I'm so grateful that that happened to me, because it gave me a belief that it's worthwhile to speak up, it's worthwhile to write letters. I've had so many people tell me to stop doing the phone calls that I'm still doing 45 years later on behalf of Tokitae. And I'm like, no. You know, I've had people on posts. I'll post on something on Orca Network, and then someone will send me a private thing saying, oh, those letter writing campaigns don't work, they don't listen to those letters. I'm like, no, you can't tell me that. So anyways, I don't know if that's what you wanted me to share, but that's my story, and I just have to say I'm extremely grateful now that there's so many people here, because before social media, I felt alone in this. Even 8-10 years ago, I would be places and people would like really challenge me, thinking it was a lie that these orcas in these places were not rescues. I was at a scrapbooking thing one time with some girlfriends, and this woman was scrapbooking her trip to SeaWorld that she went on with her kids, and I started telling her about those whales, and she said, why are you ruining this for me? And I said, well, it's just, you know, they're not, because she said, these are rescues. SeaWorld does rescues. These are rescue whales. And I'm like, no, that one there, Corky, isn't. And so I shared with her about our cove. And I think if we just get the message out there, I don't think people are just horrible and don't care. I think a lot of people just don't know. Because I find that when I share with people what I saw in Penn Cove, I don't have a single friend now in California. Nobody who knows me goes to SeaWorld. They just didn't know. So I think we just have to speak up. We have to tell people these stories. We have to post about them. And now, because of social media, I realize I'm not alone in this. There's a lot of people who care about this. So please keep posting about it. Go to your schools and have kids write letters. If you're a teacher, that's a good teacher right there. Spend the day and let your students write letters. This is my daughter, Julianne. She is almost in 4th grade now, same grade I was in 45 years ago doing this, and she's petitioning now. What I have to say about her is she's normally extremely shy. And to see what she's been doing with this petition, I think Tokitae does that to people. You get a connection to Toki, and Toki's perseverance, Toki's resilience, Toki's stamina blows my mind, inspires me. Toki inspires me to be a better person, and I think something about Toki has given her the courage to speak up, and she goes to people she does not know with this petition, and that's not something she would have done a year ago, right, Jules? Yeah. So did you want to say anything? Oh, she did want to tell you about, she mentioned earlier, she wanted to tell you about Lolita's name.
Lolita's name in the Spanish origin is suffering.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know that. I was born in Spain. I'm actually half Puerto Rican, but we always look up everything in the Spanish origin. And I'm sure Miami Seaquarium has no idea. They gave this whale a name. In the Spanish origin, it means suffering or sorrow. So there you go.
If you haven't signed their petition, please do. First of all, I'd like to thank our Creator for allowing us a breath of time to come together in unity. You know, I'm going to share a couple of verses of a song that came from a whale that beached herself on our land years ago. And as she was dying, we got this song from her, and it's called Ike Swallowing. Ike Swallowing. But first of all, I'd like to once again thank each and every one of you, for taking a breath of time out of your life to be here. For you that are here, you're the ones that were meant to be here. So thanking you for that. So this is called Ike Swallowing.
her heart was beating on the normal on the first verse, the second verse, the loud beating. Her heart was pounding so hard, she moved about 25 feet. So she was still 20 feet short of the channel when we tried to move her and save her. Our first duty was to try to save the whale. But time and tide ran against her, and we lost the battle to save the whale, and that her heart gave out. Thank you.
Hello, everybody.
Story. Tokitae is a love story. Yeah.
Hello, everybody. I'd like to invite my wife and our daughter Phoenix to come up. To honor my family for being here. My daughter Phoenix is 9, so it's nice to see her daughter do what she's doing, and Phoenix would like to follow the same footsteps and helping out Tokitae, which is really nice. And if we all just understand, Tokitae is in a pool, and where we'd like to bring her home, if you could consider that, you know, the size of the pool is this size of a screen. Where she's going is 50 of those screens. And those 50 screens enable her to be reestablished and then wait for the mother to come and get her. And when the mother comes, she can leave those 50 screens and go into the ocean. And it just makes sense. And there's a struggle for that fight to be able to do that, you know? We have our dancers who are going to come out and do a final song. And there's Phoenix, you want to say anything? You want to say anything?
I think I'm good.
Okay. Yeah. Me, I always just want to stay up here. I want to sing a song. But hold on.
Siema Nishalacha, Sohila Quinasanatacho Tikaya, Siema Nishalacha, Solkatip Sanasnat. My traditional name is Solkatip. My Christian name is Freddie Lane. Just want to thank each and every one of you, from the youngest to the oldest, for taking this moment of time, this breath of time, as Uncle Doug says, to be here. I also want to recognize our teams here on the ground, our friends here. If I can have Dennis and William come up, and we'll bring out the Blackhawk singers at this time. But I also, at this time, I want Howard and all of our team, Dr. Russo, our friends from the Sierra Club, I want you to come up. I want you, all of our team, Mrs. Hummingbird, Alejandro, I just want you to I just want to recognize these wonderful people. Jeff, Josh is with the Lactamus Foundation. I also couldn't thank Julie Birmingham. Raise your hand, Julie. It's actually half the crowd that's going to come up. It's kind of cool. And I just want you to see. I mean, you know, there was about 8 or 9 of us that actually came across the country, and of course, all of them just come here to Miami because it's Miami, and there's like, oh, good reason, come down to Miami and get some sun. But for those of you who weren't there today at the Miami Circle, and it was a very, very powerful moment to witness. And our computers were shutting off, and our cameras were shutting off, and our live feeds were shutting off, and a lot of times as a Indian, and I say Indian, people say, oh, you can't say Indian, it's Native American, but I was born an Indian and I'm gonna die an Indian, but I'm American Indian, and I just want to say, you know, that you know, and I'm jokingly saying this, but when Princess Leia says to Darth Vader, we have powerful friends. And I said that today. We have power. Lolita has powerful allies. She has powerful friends. And two of those powerful friends are the James brothers, Doug and Jewel. And I can't say that. I know Julie's, you know, he's where you at, Jewel? Stand up, Jewel. Oh, okay, you know, but, you know, Julie, you know, I just really, my heart, love and friendship, I can call him a brother, and I really, honestly, for the past 16 years, watched him and Uncle Doug speak, and I don't think I really could be the speaker that I am if it wasn't for those times that they were saying, get up and share a few words. Melanie, come on up. There's just so many people on the ground, Alejandro, Sylvia, Mrs. Hummingbird, and we have friends around the world. Jojo Salish is organizing, and James Gover are organizing June 16th. And we're calling it the Day of the Quakalmachtan, the Day of the people that live under the water. And that's just to recognize our relatives, and we're having marches all over the world, and they have their Facebook page. It's called Until Lolita is Home. And I would be saying go to sacredseed.org, and you could see the retirement plan. You could see that we're not just like Mr. Rose said this weekend in the Miami Herald, that those people don't care. They don't care if Lolita lives or dies. And I say to you, Mr. Rose, because I know you have your people watching at this aquarium, that you don't know Lummi people, and that you should understand that we have powerful allies. And just this past week, the affiliated tribes of Northwest Indians passed a resolution with more than 50 tribes signing on to free Lolita. And so just again, thanking each and every one of you. In my Father's word, I love you. We love you. And we wouldn't be here. We're coming back in September. Tomorrow, Jewel and the team are driving back at probably after noon when we're done in front of this aquarium, but we're inviting you to come out and stand with us. And we know that this is Miami and it does rain. We brought the rain from Washington. We apologize. But again, we love each and every one of you, and thank you. Thank you for being here. Just wanted to recognize Dennis and William, if they could step forward. Here at Florida International. And the Beach family, Adam and Summer and Phoenix, just want to, just a little token of our appreciation. And we just love you and really thank you. It's so nice to meet you and to have you, and I know that our relatives and our family and friends back at home really appreciate you standing with us. And as we say in our language, Siplan Ato. Siplan Ato. We're standing together. And we just can't thank you enough for helping us in this little bit of work here. So with that, we'll turn it over to the Black Hawk Singers. Ace.
Scared to talk on the mic. Thank you guys very much. Thank you. That's the end of what we have here. Mingle, share stories, talk, phone numbers, Instagram, and we'll meet you out there. Thank you very much.